Hey, it's Chris. The iPad mini might be Apple's strangest product. It certainly isn't the most powerful iPad, and comparatively, Apple barely markets it at all. Now, if this was just a small iPad, that wouldn't happen. But people who have owned a mini before just can't seem to let it go. They might try to use an iPad Pro, or even just use their iPhone for everything. But sooner or later, they keep coming back to the mini. Why? What is it about this device that keeps people locked in? And is it something that Apple's not saying out loud? Before we get into it, if you want to think better, execute faster, and get more wins in just 60 seconds a week, my Saturday Signals newsletter delivers exactly that, and it's free. It'll take you less than a minute to read, and I guarantee that it's going to be the most useful, interesting thing that you encounter all week. Check it out, it's linked up down below. The iPad mini 7 is the only iPad that Apple doesn't position as a potential laptop replacement. Every other iPad reserves the option. Attach a keyboard, enable Stage Manager, and then suddenly it's pretty laptop-like. But the mini here fully commits to being a tablet. And that's why it attracts a specific kind of person, like the hypermobile person. This is the only iPad that fits in a coat pocket, for instance. So if you're always on the move, then this feels natural and effortless. Or the minimalist. With a screen this size, you're just not gonna be able to fit as much as you can on a bigger iPad. And then there's the specialized pro, like pilots who mount it in the cockpit, or doctors who reference this in the hospital, or musicians who use it for set lists. And then finally, the second screen addict, people with a MacBook Pro or an iPad Pro who keep the mini around for one reason. It's perfect for single tasking. But here's where things are gonna get weird. What's weird about this? Well, the iPad mini hijacks your memory muscle. Once you've used it, then there are times when every other device just feels wrong. Once you've used the mini, there are times when the iPhone feels too cramped. Once you've used the mini, there are situations where other iPads just feel too big. Once you've used the mini, there are times when laptops just feel like too much work. With the mini, there really is this Goldilocks effect where your brain, it just reprograms what normal feels like. And that's why people keep coming back. And it really isn't just the size, it's the use case shift. It's as immersive as a book, but it runs full apps. By the way, since I got this out, I did break this and many other productivity books down nice and succinctly for you in my productivity course. I'll link it up down below. When it comes to gaming, it's more portable than a Steam Deck, while also being larger than an iPhone and smaller than an iPad Pro. And then for things like journaling or sketching or just single tasking in general, this is the only device that totally disappears when you're using it. And for that reason, I would say the mini is less about specs and more about the way it fits into your life. And of course, Apple knows all this, but they're not out there marketing it like I'm describing it necessarily. Apple's entire iPad strategy is really built around this concept, the future of computing. But the mini sort of breaks that narrative. It's not a laptop, it's a pure tablet experience, and obviously Apple doesn't make a keyboard for this, other companies do, but I haven't really found a keyboard that really makes a ton of sense, honestly. Unlike the Pro here, the mini is not marketed as a productivity first device. And there's no Pro branding for the iPad mini to push it into a higher category, although a lot of people over the years, including myself, have wished for a mini Pro, which could lead someone to speculate that maybe that's why Apple sort of keeps it quiet, because if they push the mini, it kind of makes other iPads look compromised in some way. Put differently, the iPad Air and the iPad Pro are kind of caught in between, being a laptop and a tablet. They're modular, you can decide to some extent how you want to deploy those, but the mini just knows what it is. It's a pure tablet. That, and maybe Apple sort of testing something bigger with the mini. First, I just wanna mention today's sponsor. It's Paperlike. I love the Paperlike screen protector. I use it on all of my iPads because I don't like a screen that doesn't have the Paperlike screen protector. It's become that natural and important to my iPad workflow. If you're using an iPad, then optimize for the way that you use it. If you use an Apple Pencil, the Paperlike is a great addition because you still get that great clarity with your screen thanks to the nanodot technology, but you get that paper resistance, you reduce fingerprints, you reduce glare. It's an amazing product. I've recommended it for years for a reason, because I really do use it and like it. It's linked up down below. Like, look at the size. It's just about the size that a Pro iPhone that folded out might be if Apple made a foldable iPhone. I mean, it's not sci-fi. Samsung's had the Galaxy Z fold out forever, and of course Apple's watching. So could this form factor be a bit of a Trojan horse where Apple tests the waters, gets us used to this form factor before hitting us with the folder? Let's put that a little bit differently. Is the iPad mini already the foldable device that people actually want, just without that fragile creased screen? However you look at it though, this is not just another iPad. Obviously, Apple sells a lot of devices, but the mini is different for all the reasons that I just described, Once someone gets used to the Mini, they become very attached, sometimes in ways that they can't quite articulate, which I hope this video helped with. But I do think it mostly boils down to, once you've used an iPad mini, there are certain times when other screens just don't feel quite right, which explains why people keep coming back to it and why Apple keeps making it and why it hasn't changed all that much when there was all this long laundry list of features that people wished this version of the iPad mini would have, but just didn't end up getting. And that brings us to the real question, which is not should you buy one, but what is it about this little device that keeps reeling people back in? I've given you my opinion. Please share yours down below. Do you have one? Do you want one? Are you staying away from it? Would you buy a foldable phone if it kind of morphed out into this shape? Again, get yourself subscribed to Saturday Signals if you haven't already. There's a reason it has an industry-leading open rate. People love this thing. And if you haven't checked out my latest course, My AI Edge, you're gonna wanna do that too. There's a trailer so you can check it out, see why it's important. The gist is, whether you love AI or hate it, you should be prepared for the changes and opportunities that are coming down the pipeline. That's exactly what that course lets you do. I will see you over on the second channel or in the next daily tech video or in your inbox with Saturday Signals, or who knows where else I'm gonna show up. But thanks for hanging out today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.